In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a busy photo using Photoshop Composites. What's up YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Amy, and on this channel I teach you guys how to improve your photography, especially your food photography. If that might interest you, then click subscribe down below for future videos I've got coming. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can create a busy scene in a photograph using Photoshop Composites. Composites are where we're combining different images into one image. There's so many different ways we can use this technique, but for this specific image, I'm just going to be adding in an extra few hands. Composites are a great way to create a nice busy scene for our images, especially during COVID where you can't have 20 people around. You can just take 20 different pictures and add them all together. Having a few hands coming in to the same image gives it a really good sense of busyness, and this creates a story, like we know there's something going on, maybe a party, maybe a big family gathering. It's creating that story, which is something I talked about a lot in last week's video. A lot of the different things we do when creating our images are deep down to create that story feeling, because the more feeling or visual narrative you evoke in an image, the more it's going to connect with someone, the longer they're going to look at it and enjoy looking at your images, which, let's be honest, is one of the big reasons we all like taking pictures. The first thing we need to do to create our composite is to set our scene up. So the big thing we need is a tripod. This is really important for composites because you need to make sure your camera is in exactly the same position when we take all of our images. So it's going to be exactly the same setup, but I'm going to take one picture with one hand in, and then I'm going to take another picture with my hand somewhere else, and we're going to blend these images in Photoshop to create one image with different hands in. When the scene is set up, I'm going to just get myself ready. I'm going to set myself timer on the camera because my hands are going to be busy, so they're not going to be able to take the picture. If you've just got one hand in, you can use a remote shutter, but if you're going to have both hands in, you're going to need to have your self timer. After setting the self timer, I get my hands ready. I wait for the picture to take, keeping all of the settings and absolutely everything the same. I'll then move to another position, set the self timer again and take the picture, and then put my hands in ready for the next picture. You can do this as many times as you want. This was just a small image, so too many hands would just make it look a bit daft, so I just kept it to 2 images for this one. So now we've got the pictures ready to take, we're going to hop onto the computer, and first of all we're going to edit them in Lightroom. So now we've captured our image with our hands in 2 different positions, and I've gone ahead and with the first of my images I've edited it exactly how I wanted it. So I've edited the initial edit in Lightroom. So this is to edit the colours and the contrast and anything like that. If you want any more information about my general editing process, then check out the link above. We want the 2 images to be exactly the same. So what we're going to do is take the image that I've edited and then go to edit, copy, and make sure you've got absolutely everything selected for this. I would normally take off like the crop and local adjustment, but we want these 2 images to be exactly the same. So we're going to make sure that those are selected for this particular composite. And then if you go along to this image, and then we can either go edit and paste or just Command and V. So now looking at these 2 images, they're edited in exactly the same way. So when we merge these 2 images together, they're not going to look jarring. They're not going to look like one's got a different tone or contrast than another. So now we've got our photos edited, we're just going to go File and Export, and we're going to export them high res. So this will be whatever export settings that you've got in, but make sure you were exporting these high res as we're going to be editing them in Photoshop. You want to resize it afterward, resize that in Photoshop. Make sure you've got your coffee, always a must for editing. So now those images have exported, we're going to open them up into Photoshop. These images were taken from the mulled wine I shot just before Christmas. So we're going to go open with and then Photoshop. This will open both files in a different window in Photoshop. So you can see we've got one here and then the other one here. Pick which image you want as your base layer. I'm going to go with this one just because I think the lighting is slightly better on these oranges up here. So now we've got that layer ready, we're just going to double click on the layer and press enter. This is going to turn it into a layer instead of the background. So this just means that it's free to be edited about. And then go on to our second image, and we're going to select Command A, which is just selecting the whole image, and then Command C If you're on a Windows, I think that's Control. And now we've got that image copied, we're going to go onto our background layer and just click Command and V. This is going to paste that image right on top of our previous one. So if you click the eyeball, you can see it and unsee it. And this is where you can see that it's really important that we use a tripod, because other than the hands, the images are exactly the same. What we need to do now is blend these images together. So to do that, we're going to have layer 1 selected, which is the layer on top, and click the Add Layer Mask button at the bottom here. What this is going to do is open up this white box next to it, and the white means that this layer is visible. If you click Command and I, you're going to see that that turns black. Black means that that layer is not visible. What we're going to do now is we're going to manually paint in the area that we want to see. So click B to select the brush tool, and then that is way too big what came up there. What I'm clicking to make it smaller and bigger, the square brackets, the open bracket will make it smaller, and the closed bracket will make it bigger. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. We want to make sure our opacity is at 100. If it wasn't at 100, when you're painting it in, you're not going to be painting all of the image in. So you're going to have like ghost hands. If the opacity was at 50%, you're going to have 50% hand and 50% what's below it. So you're going to kind of have ghost hands. The hardness is way too hard, so we're going to bring this down so it just creates a nice soft edge. If there is any slight difference in tone, it's not going to be really harsh, like a really harsh shadow. It's just going to be a nice soft flow. And then we need to make sure our brush is white. So as we said before, white meant it's visible, so we're going to make sure this layer is selected, not the image, and we're going to just draw in where the hand is. And as you can see here, I've got the black selected, so if you press X, that'll just swap that to white, and then we'll just slowly brush in my hand. You need to make sure you brush in exactly what makes sense for the image. So obviously this napkin is covered by my hand in the picture, so I'm going to brush the napkin area in as well, just because that's going to make more sense. We don't want weird looking floating hands. It needs to look like it belongs in the picture. So if there's any shadows, this doesn't really have many shadows because it's quite a dark image, but if there's any shadows, make sure we're brushing them in as well. And that looks quite good. I mean, the hand placement is not good. I just did this to show exactly how to make a composite, and I just did it with 2 hands. I mean, you can use as many hands or things as you want. People like to do these sorts of composites for pouring shots, so you can have pouring over syrup, you can have it coming down in different directions and add the different pours together, or you can have a big party scene with hands coming in from all over the place and it just being your hands. This I just did 2. It wouldn't have made much more sense to have 4 hands in there doing absolutely nothing. That looks good to me. If you save this as a Photoshop file or a TIFF, you can keep the layers in it. So if you do find there's something wrong, you can always come back and edit that later on, but you will have to flatten it to save it as a JPEG. But you can have 2 copies of it and just edit as you want. So now the image is ready, we're going to just flatten it. So to do this, we're just going to right click and then flatten image. So this image is now just one image. We don't have the 2 images on top of each other. File and then save as, just so I know that that's the finished one. Oops. Like I said, you don't have to just be doing this with 2 hands. You can use as many hands or as many objects as you want. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I hope you've got some really good ideas of how you can use this in your own photography to add more of a story and to make those scenes busy and fun and energetic. If you do create any of these composites yourself, then I'd love to see what you create. So tag me on Instagram at amphotographeruk and I'll definitely have a look at what you guys post. Thanks for watching, guys. Give it a thumbs up and I'll see you in the next video.